So let me ask you a question. Are you driven by the applause of the crowd, or are you anchored by a much deeper truth? Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're taking a bit of a cinematic journey into a really profound piece of ancient wisdom. Wisdom that honestly still dictates the rhythm of our modern lives. We're going to explore that delicate, sometimes tricky balance between waiting for the absolute right moment and rushing just to satisfy the demands of the public. To kick things off, we really need to understand a mental model we like to call the trap of the crowd. You see, human nature constantly, and I mean literally constantly, seeks validation. We're just naturally drawn to visibility, to immediate success, and of course, the safety of numbers. I mean, imagine a rising tide of complexity and pressure all around you, right? It's constantly pushing you to perform, to prove yourself, and to conform to exactly what everyone else expects, right this very second. It's totally exhausting, isn't it? Okay, so let's dive into a guiding philosophy straight from our source material, specifically an insight known as Papa's Take, Papa being the author of the newsletter we're exploring today. He highlights this really powerful contrast. It's the difference between living a life led by inner faith and divine timing versus living a life completely subservient to the political will and acceptance of other people. And really, this is the lens through which we're going to examine a fascinating historical and spiritual case study today. Act 1, the context. We're setting the stage in John chapter 7. Now, to really grasp this whole concept, our source material takes us back to a biblical narrative where Jesus is facing the ultimate pressure test. And it's not just from the public, it's from his own family. The setting is incredibly tense. Leaders in Judea are hostile, yet there's this massive public feast happening. Notice the stark contrast we're looking at here. On one hand, human pressure demands spectacle, speed, and visibility. You know, the world loves a show. But on the other hand, divine timing often requires immense patience, a season of hiddenness and quiet obedience. It's basically a complete inversion of what our natural instincts tell us to do when we want to be quote-unquote successful. The text actually shows Jesus' brothers urging him to head straight into the spotlight of Judea. And honestly, their advice sounds incredibly practical by today's standards, right? They're basically saying, go show your works openly, prove yourself to the world. But the source points out a really crucial dynamic here. Even your close family can admire your gifts and abilities while completely missing your true purpose and identity. They essentially wanted him to launch a massive public PR campaign. Jesus, however, just completely refuses to be rushed into the spotlight. He responds simply, "My time has not yet come." He relied entirely on God's timing, rather than the whims of what others wanted from him. This is such a brilliant moment because it shows that true faith is absolutely willing to wait. It proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that obedience to a higher calling is not the same thing as self-promotion, not even close. Act 2. The tension. Let's look at the divided crowd. So Jesus eventually goes to the feast, but he does it privately. On the right timeline, completely avoiding that performative grand entrance his brothers wanted. But when he arrives, the public is totally fractured. Some people are saying he's good, others are claiming he's a deceiver. But notice the most critical detail here. The vast majority are whispering in absolute silence. Why? Well, because they are terrified of the religious and political leaders. The source material emphasizes this fear aspect really heavily. It's people completely suppressing their true beliefs because they are terrified of the crowd's reaction. We can really visualize this as a massive storm of public opinion. It's turbulent, it's chaotic, and there's this intense, crazy pressure to conform. Yet, much like a captain navigating a violent tempest, completely unbothered, Jesus operates totally independently of this storm. He is not guided by public demand, and he certainly doesn't alter his truth just to appease the angry waves of the crowd. So, here's the crucial point. Mere opinion is not faith. The source material really presses this idea that people can admire someone, they can question them, or even secretly agree with them. But simply holding a quiet opinion out of fear, that's passive. The crowd remained totally subservient to the political will of their leaders, basically choosing the safety of silence over the actual courage of conviction. Act 3, the connection. Let's look at a modern application. So how does this ancient tension actually map onto our daily lives right now? Well, the source material makes this really powerful leap to our modern environment, beautifully illustrating Papa's point. Reflecting on the 4th of July, the author highlights the rare, truly unparalleled freedom we have here in America. Unlike those terrified whispering crowds in our story, we live in a unique context where you can profess your faith freely without that intense fear of state or religious retribution constantly hanging over your head. This right here is freedom from the political will of the crowd. The author notes that nowhere else on earth are these specific freedoms so deeply ingrained. We literally don't have to remain subservient or stay silent about what we believe just to appease societal leaders. It's a profound privilege, and it fundamentally changes how we can interact with our own convictions. And because we have this incredible freedom, it invites a genuine, heart-level response to truth. As the source material from the small group study suggests, we're fully empowered to boldly move from passive, hidden belief to active, visible faith. When that heavy fear of the crowd is removed by the freedoms we enjoy, our internal convictions can finally, truly align with our external actions. The synthesis? Let's turn this into some actionable wisdom. Drawing all these threads together to help us navigate this rising tide of complexity, our sources suggest 3 key takeaways. Number 1, trust divine timing over public speed. Seriously, don't rush your purpose just for visibility. Number 2, speak the truth with humility, recognizing that real obedience is often going to meet some resistance. And number 3, live with absolute courage. Refuse to whisper your convictions in the dark out of fear of what others might think. We're going to leave you with this final, lingering question, inspired by Papa, to ponder long after this explainer ends. Are you willing to obey God and stand by your deepest truths, even when doing so is wildly unpopular? When that storm of public opinion is absolutely raging all around you, I really hope you choose the courage of your faith over the fleeting, hollow comfort of the crowd's applause. Thanks so much for exploring this with us.